Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are back for another episode of the Buckeye Roast. It's your boy Grandma Wolf here with my guy Professor Snape. How you doing?
Patronus. I remember getting the spell. I think it's Patronus.
We had to go get a professor of defense against the dark arts to help the Buckeyes try to find a pass rush. We're looking for all the help that we could get in this Halloween season. Q, we are here on this holiday. We normally don't do holiday shows. Like, you might get a Thanksgiving show out of us, but we're here though.
We are lucky this is in the middle of the week because on the weekend it would not happen.
Q would be drunk somewhere, and that wig would be on someone's floor right now.
I'm fighting Voldemort. That's what I do. Teaching him.
Well, we got a special day planned here before we get you back to Hogwarts. We have a special guest on the show today, so we will get right into it because not only is it a Halloween edition, it is a special edition of the Juckeye Roast, and we are joined by our guy, Juck on Bucks. Juck, how you doing?
My guys, good morning, good morning, good morning. Every time I hear it, I'm in a good mood. How we doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm loving your costume of an optimistic Ohio State fan.
I got the Bucks winning. I do. I got a feeling.
The way they're playing this year, I think that might be one of the scariest costumes. But man, we got plenty to talk about today. Q, I know you said you were a little short on the national news, but did you have some trivia for us this morning?
Yeah, I have a couple national things, but I also pulled the top 5 grossing horror movies of all time. Now, I know all these lists are different, so don't be mad at me if you look at another list and one movie's here, one movie's there. But I do have a list, so I wondered if you, Juck, in the chat could put that together. But definitely we will do that in a second. Everybody who's in here, go ahead and like that video. If you're on Twitter, go hit that like and retweet. Let other people know. Get other people in here. We got Juck in here, so everyone needs to be in here this morning. Says the highest our budget could go. So enjoy it.
I mean, we spent too much on it on the costumes.
Yeah, I forgot. They gave us $1,000. These costumes are $950. So enjoy.
We got $1,000 budget for Halloween, and Q was like, "Well, my wig's $900, so I don't know what we're gonna get."
It's good looking.
All right, but first, ask y'all favorite Halloween candy, and for the chat.
It's a Reese's cup, obviously. Anything with peanut butter, though. I'm a peanut butter addict, so it is absolutely Reese's cups for me.
I do also love the Reese's cup, but I guess this one's apparently a little controversial with folks your age. I love candy corn. I know this is a big hot button issue. I eat it by the handful.
I got your back. I used to eat candy corn. If I get one, it's a wrap. I'm taking them down.
Yeah, right. And the pumpkins, give me the pumpkins. Oh, love the pumpkins.
I have to say Rolos, which is a deep cut. I love Rolos. So if I get you either get the individual ones. I think they gave them out yesterday at work. So you get the individual ones, or if I get the pack, it's really over.
My one other Halloween specialty, I'll probably see my mom this weekend. She might have a box of them for me. Popcorn balls. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I love popcorn balls. You guys like those?
Hell yeah.
I don't know if I've had a popcorn ball.
It's literally just popcorn smashed into like the size of a baseball, and it's held together with marshmallow.
Oh, I've never had that. I might have to go get some. Go out this weekend.
That is a lot of bang for the buck. There's a lot of bites out of a popcorn ball. That's a good one. That's a score. I like that. Big time.
Absolutely. Now, are we passing out candy tonight? Big candy bars, little candy bars. I have to limit myself when I'm buying Halloween candy. People familiar with the Pittsburgh area, I live in Mount Washington, which is essentially a mountain. Like walking around here, I couldn't imagine trick-or-treating. I get like maybe 8 trick-or-treaters. So I go small on my candy giveaway, because if I grab a big thing of candy, I end up eating the entire thing. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it is a bad thing.
Yeah, my adorable wife, she absolutely loves Halloween. She gets her little a little table set out with her portable heater and gets the full spread, the full 9, man, the full size, everything. It's a big thing for it's really cute. I usually am watching a football game and not really participate, but she has a great time with it.
No, it's fun. I used to have a house back when I lived in the townhouses that they did like a full house costume. So their house was like a giant monster with like teeth. And the opening would be like where their door is, because it was kind of upstairs, and they used to give out the full size candy bar. So you had to get there early. Like it's not even hitting nighttime. And you're like, I gotta get there before they clear them out. So most stuff, I remember that. But I will not be handing out candy. I am a single man in an apartment. If I'm dressed like this, I will be arrested by the show. Save myself. Not be giving out candy. But okay, so I have, let's see, these movie buffs in here. You can get help from the chat, but no cheating, everybody. All right, I'll just go look it up and give me this list. I have the top 5 grossing horror movies going back, I'll say 1970 to about 2020, where these movies are. So I'm sure it's been adjusted for inflation, so you don't got to worry about that. But top 5 horror movies. So I want to see if y'all can guess them.
All right.
Psycho?
No, Psycho is not on the list.
Halloween?
Halloween is not on the list.
Really? How about the Blair Witch Project?
That's a good guess, Steve Cut, but that's not it. You got
Scream?
a bunch of money at the box office.
Scream.
Got to be
That's
Scream.
a good guess, but no, Scream was actually overthrown.
All right, Get Out.
There's some true classics on here. I was starting to give you a little guess. Some true classics on here.
Friday the 13th.
It's a good guess, but no.
Nightmare on Elm Street. What are we doing? Like, you're telling me there's no Freddy, Jason, or Scream in the top 5 grossing?
Let me see if the chat has held out. No Freddy Krueger, no Jason, no
Paranormal Activity.
Wait,
Gremlin.
No, Paranormal Activity is not.
Gremlin?
Okay, I will give you
the name of that
guess.
movie.
One of them has
Saw.
It's not Saw. One of the but I have 2 that take place in the 70s. Think classic horror. And one of them has to do with something that might bite you.
Jaws? Is that considered a horror movie?
Yeah, Jaws.
Oh, okay. That's so off where I was.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Halloween movies. Our guy Charles said The Shining, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Any of those?
That was scary.
No, none of those. But there is another one in the 70s. This is a very classic. There is
Poltergeist sounds like a good guess from Johnny.
There's a scene in this. Poltergeist is a good guess. There's a scene in this movie, take place in DC actually, because I've seen the real church, where someone goes flying off the steps of a church.
Exorcist?
You got it. Exorcist is another one.
Okay, so wait, how many did we have so far? We have The Exorcist?
You have 2. You have Jaws and you have Exorcist. Okay, it gets a little harder. Okay, there is a very popular one for this one. The remake was in 2017, but the original was a TV series in the 90s. Pretty sure.
It's a TV series?
Yeah, it started as a TV series and then it was remade, and it's a famous book.
Is it that werewolf one? What is that, man? I'm not hip to reading. I don't read.
Teen Wolf.
I love the original Teen Wolf. I grew up on that one.
It is not a wolf, but is a very popular thing that people are scared of, especially kids.
Clowns. Oh, It. How did I forget that one?
It 2017. Okay.
It 2017 is the top 5 grossing.
That blows my mind.
Made $701 million.
All right.
It is definitely up there.
Is Ryan Day's introductory press conference on there?
No, that made too much money as a horror movie. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit tougher, but this is a newer 2018 religious horror movie. They guessed The Conjuring. That was not it, but it is down that line of sort of movies.
I have no idea. You're going to have to let us know these last 2, or we're going to be here all damn day.
Okay. All right. One of these is a sequel to a movie we've already guessed. And one of these, okay, let's see. Can you get the sequel? We've already guessed the first one.
It Chapter 2?
Yeah, you got it. That is 4. It Chapter 2 is up there at 467 million. And then we have one more, one I was talking about before. I'm trying to, I don't know if you'll be able to get it, but it stars a religious figure. That's a good guess right there.
You're going to have to give it to us, Q.
The Nun. The Nun is 5 at 300.
Oh, they had that in the chat. William Palmer had it.
He
Shout
got
out.
it.
Way to go. Way to go, William Palmer.
He probably looked it up. No, I'm just kidding.
Are you guys horror film guys?
I am.
Are you?
Q is more of a movie guy than me. I mean, I'll watch a scary movie. I'm not like I'm not a big movie buff, but like I'm a Nightmare Before Elm Street or the classics that you see on TV during Halloween.
Like scary movies stay with me for 2 or 3 days. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I have a solid list for you.
Before we get started, what is your guys' favorite Halloween scary movie? And then we'll get into the potential scary movie on Saturday.
Jack, you can go first.
Yeah, my first guess. The Blair Witch Project is one that, I say 3 days. That one stuck with me for weeks because back then when it came out, I want to say I was in high school, and the story going around was it was a real documentary, and that really held up for like a month and a half or 2 months before we found out it was actually a mockumentary. But that shit stuck with me, man. I was messed up for that. Like, that was bad.
I was a wee child, but I do remember the Blair Witch Project coming out, and they're saying, "Oh, it was real," and it happened in Maryland, which I lived in Virginia at the time. I'm like, well, not going back across the state. Mine is the 1996 Scream, classic horror, reinvented it, kind of brought the slasher back, and not those old, slasher like Jason and all them, but Ghostface, who would make you laugh and kill you.
Q stole my answer. It's absolutely the 96 Scream. Billy, I'm feeling woozy. when he gets cut too deep, like that's one of my favorites. I think, like, aside from being a horror film, I think it's just an overall great watch. I could watch that movie any time of the year. So definitely got to go with Scream as my favorite film. But this is not a Halloween podcast, despite of the holiday and the costumes. We got plenty of Buckeye stuff to talk about on here. We had to bring Juck along to get his take on everything that's going on around this team. The Buckeyes have a top 5 matchup in Happy Valley this week against the Nittany Lions. Juck, just your initial feeling going into this game. I will start with your confidence meter. Where would you put your confidence meter at going into this game, preseason versus today?
Preseason, a mere formality, an 8.5. Today, about a 6. I do think they're going to pull out a victory. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think that it's going to come down late in the fourth quarter, like so many of these games we've seen in the past with them. And in the end, I got faith that James Franklin's going to be James Franklin, and that's just a little bit more of a choke artist than Ryan Day in a big game.
Q, your level of nerves going into this game versus the beginning of the season.
Oh, honestly, this is a little side note. I've been listening to a lot of crime podcasts lately of a lot of famous murders because one of my former aspirations was to go to the FBI and chase.
I thought you were going to say was to kill somebody.
No,
interesting revelation on the show. I've always aspired to be a mass murderer.
We'll say that after show. But I'm hoping the famous case of the murder of Ryan Day does not happen after this weekend. And not hoping to listen to that one. I would say I'm with Juck. My confidence is at a 6. I feel like Jim Knowles' defense, from what we've seen last week, maybe is back and turning a little bit of a corner and going to Penn State, who we know they sometimes put up points, but every time they get later in the season, it's like, well, they really can't score that much. I think this defense really holds Penn State to, I would say, the 20 mark, maybe the famous 17 that Ron uses a lot. And I have confidence in Ohio State to go out and get me 24, 31 points. on the road, despite the offensive line. I think we have enough playmakers to get it done. So I'm like a 24-17 type guy. Like, again, we don't have the superhero C.J. Stroud or Dwayne Haskins walking in the Happy Valley. But I think if you say, oh, well, Howard, go give me 24, he can get it done. So
I'm more concerned now than I was season because coming into the season, I thought $20 million, natty or bust. I'm not even thinking about Penn State. That's just going to be another notch in the belt on the way to a national championship. I never thought, even the Oregon game, I thought that was a game that the Buckeyes would be able to handle with the team that they put together. And now coming into Happy Valley, the injury questions that the Buckeyes have, the lack of run game that the Buckeyes have seen. We talked about the best running back duo, a two-headed monster. I mean, we saw 2.9 yards per carry. We talked about how Chip Kelly was going to innovate this run game and get this run game going. And to see the Buckeyes have these struggles and questions about things that I don't think the Buckeyes expected to be questioning. Did Buckeye fans expect this to be a difficult game? Absolutely. But to have the concerns that they have, dysfunction on the staff, it seems like we just saw Ryan Day come out and reiterate in his radio show last night that they have had discussions and they're definitely going to rotate more, when earlier in the week they decided to defer to the associate head coach or de facto head coach or athlete, whatever you want to call Larry Johnson, the man in charge. Everybody wanted to defer to him on his decision-making when it came to the rotation on the defensive line. So to see that Ryan Day came out last night and said that they're going to rotate more, it seems like this team's trying to get back on the same page, but with the level of dysfunction that we've seen in the last week, does give me a little bit more concern than usual. I asked Chris this question yesterday on the Bleacher Report preview. If you guys haven't seen that, be sure to check that out in the Ohio State team stream. Chris Drew and I did a Week 10 preview of Ohio State Penn State. So if you missed that, be sure to check that out. But I wanted to bring a segment from that show here to you guys. I don't know if you guys are fans of game shows, but top 5 answers on the board. What is Ohio State's best starting line?
That's a cool graphic. I like that. Definitely take
a cool graphic. Oh, and Fry's in there too. I love it.
He's in my 5.
You got Justin Fry at left tackle.
Jack, I'll let you take first crack at it. Go for it.
Okay, well, obviously center. We know for sure what's going on there. Seth McLaughlin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how we play this game?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going with that. All right, Q. I guess you're up next.
Ooh, I am very torn. Okay, I'm gonna go right tackle. Definitely Josh Fryer. He's held it down. I will leave him there because if I had to pick this left tackle, I'm gonna do something controversial.
I'll be the controversial one. I'll jump right in at left tackle. I'm gonna go with Donovan Jackson. Ryan Day got a lot of pushback during his press conference because people were asking him, like, hey, you always talk about playing the best 5. You know the best 5. We know the best 5. The guy you just played at left tackle is not into that 5. What are you doing? And that's where I'm at with this offensive line. It seems like everyone knew going into the season that the backup left tackle was in the starting 5 and would have to move positions if something happened to Josh Simmons. That's why he was so valuable to this team or irreplaceable, because we didn't have a good option at backup tackle, and that's due to some of the deficiencies that we've seen in recruiting in offensive line. So I'm going to go with kicking Donovan Jackson out the left tackle. You saw Luke Montgomery come in at left guard this past week, and they seem to already be moving in the direction of Donovan Jackson having to kick out. But Ryan Day also said if Zen's healthy, he's going to play. But I would definitely disagree with that decision. I will take the bullet here and go with Donovan Jackson at left tackle. That leaves our 2 guard positions. Juck, who you got?
Yeah. Well, for starters, I think you're absolutely right about your assessment on left tackle. Definitely, we all agreed, and I'm sure Ryan Day did in the beginning of the season, that Zen Michalski is not in the top 5 here. They go about this always trying to get their best 5, and what they did there struck me as just they didn't want to rock the boat, and they were hoping against all logic that Zen was going to be able to handle that, and he obviously could not. Left guard, I'm going to go with left guard, And despite sticking Luke out there because he had been repping on the left side of the line, which makes it just no sense to me. Like, I get this when we're talking right and left side with offensive linemen for tackle. In the interior, it's not the same thing. Austin Searveld had already been playing in the game. I'm not bitching about Luke being out there. I like Luke getting a shot at that. But this is going to be Austin Searveld at left guard, in my opinion.
And Q. That leaves one person at right guard, I think, unless Ryan Day wants to go off the board.
Is Enoch still here? I'm gonna go with Tegra Chipola, of course. He's played. He started left right guard all season, so he's definitely got to be the guy. But I have a question for you both. If I had to pick left tackle, obviously we know Donovan Jackson is a guard. He projects guard at the next level. He will be a guard. I probably would have, with hindsight and in 3 weeks to prepare, thrown Tegra at left tackle. He is the best left tackle prospect as far as we've recruited. He's really one of the only guys that we know next year who probably can play tackle. Would you have thrown him at left tackle and gave him 3 weeks and say, hey, you're the tackle of the future? We don't know if Josh Simmons will be back. We know Josh Fryer is gone, and we need both tackles next season, but definitely a left tackle. Go for it. Would y'all have done that?
I don't know that I would have done it in that scenario, but when they originally talked in the preseason that they were just going to be repping him at guard because they wanted him to be really good at guard instead of, pretty good at both guard and tackle. Just focus on that. And I like that philosophy in most situations. The problem here with Tegra was you were short on tackle depth, right? Not guard depth. So I kind of disagree with it then. I thought it was a bit of a gamble. Now at this point, with only the 3 weeks, I just don't know the way he's been playing at guard if I feel confident enough in that period of time. But I definitely think that what they ought to have done at that point after the Oregon game was start with Donovan immediately and give yourself that full 3 weeks with the new look there, instead of wasting 2 weeks with Zen and then giving yourself just 6 days from Nebraska to Penn State if Zen went bust, which he did. But I totally agree with your point. I just think they needed to start it back then, and I think they should have. I think they rolled the dice on not ending up needing him at tackle, and I think it was a mistake.
A question for you guys, both of you guys, in regards to this offensive line. How beneficial do you think it would be if they had someone within their top 6 or 7 that started as a true freshman every game and could potentially come in and help this offensive line? How cool would that be if the Buckeyes had someone that they knew, with all of the trouble on this offensive line, that they had a guy that played, 12 games in the Big Ten for a top 5 team in the country? What if we could find one of those in the portal or on the roster? How big would that be for this team?
Was he did he not participate in Watergate? Because that is very important on the
The way they're treating him, you would think he planned 9/11. Where is Carson Hinsman?
Well, that was part of my plan. If you had shifted Tegra out and you say, all right, Carson Hinsman can play guard. I mean, he can only be so bad. We've had plenty of bad guard play this season. That would have been the move to go and try to make that happen. At least you got your most talented / most snaps on the field, and I feel like they had a chance to figure it out. Apparently, Carson Hinsman is not playing. I don't even know. Has anybody seen him? Like, does anybody have confirmation that
Our
they've
guy
seen him?
Chad said that Hinsman's tape has looked rough this year. Juck, your thoughts on Carson Hinsman not playing for the Buckeyes?
So I get what you're saying, but I'm with Chad here. The limited amount of time he's had, and that's not like we've seen really bad tape at times from Austin Searveld and from Tegra as well. But Carson's, based on the limited amount of time he's got, it's been like many standout plays in that film where it's just like, wow, Carson. I mean, what's up, dude? Kind of bewildering for a guy with so much experience. And I don't know, maybe they're seeing the same thing in practice. But then again, it's hard to put a whole lot of trust in that as well. So I see where you're coming from, because so many of the decisions here when it concerns the offensive line are just kind of baffling to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just at some point, like, I don't give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. that I just trust everything that's going on with the decision-making process from the guy leading that unit.
So when we talk about the guy leading that unit, I started to pour water on the hot seat of Justin Fry because I thought this injury from Josh Simmons was going to be an opportunity for Justin Fry to solidify his job, because a lot of the questions have been about his development, his recruiting, and I figured you would be able to say, hey, at least my development is working here. Regardless of the recruiting, we have the bodies, and when someone drops, we have the people ready to go. And the fact that Carson Hinsman doesn't feel like he's taken a step forward, they don't have a backup left tackle. They didn't go out and get anyone in the transfer portal. I saw Doug Maurice talking about how inexcusable it was that they didn't make an attempt to replace Josh Fryer in an effort to solidify their tackle depth and have someone better than Fryer, and Fryer be the guy stepping in. It's kind of crazy how far that we've come. We've been talking about this offensive line for 2 weeks now, and I don't think I've said Josh Fryer's name once, and that was probably my biggest concern on the offensive line coming into this season. Your thoughts on Justin Fry and the state of this offensive line room? How much of this is on his recruiting and his development that the Buckeyes are in this situation that they are in?
Much like you, I was starting to get a pretty good feeling about the development. The fact that Austin Sareveld was, coming up, and a guy we didn't expect, right? Like, those are usually the telltale signs when you get guys that you don't expect, who all of a sudden are those pleasant surprises that things are going really good in that area. Of course, you got Josh Simmons to look at, what he came in at to what he was when he got injured. A huge difference. Fryer, who they said got a lot better over spring and over preseason. We didn't quite see it at first, but certainly in the last 3 or 4 games, it's felt like, okay, we're definitely seeing it now. And like you said, we're not talking about it much, which is always a good thing when it comes to a guy that we talked a lot about last year, right? So it was all looking good. And then you just get a game like last week where all of a sudden Tegra looks like it's his first game. Sareveld looks like it's his first game. And that could just be young dudes, but it puts a sour taste in your mouth nonetheless. At any rate, the failures in recruiting, just everything about it just feels to me like I don't know how you continue on with this guy after this year. I do think that it's probably time for a change in that room. I honestly just do. And that's not even talking about the recruits that I've talked to. I mean, like, literal 17-year-olds talking to me about the offensive line coach and his failure to develop, like, things that they're hearing just out in the public. That's concerning, man. That's real concerning.
Absolutely. Q, your thoughts there?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of ways to go. I mean, it's a lot harder to get a pass now than it would have maybe like 5 years ago, where you had to luck up and you hope somebody transferred. Like when we got the guard from Rutgers. I'm blanking on his name. I want to say Jackson, but
Vic Cutler.
No. For the one from Rutgers that played with Justin Fields and all them.
Oh, gosh.
I want to say it's Jackson, but
is it Jackson Arnold?
No, that's a quarterback for. Hey, we'll get it. But
no, that's the OU quarterback. Duh.
Yeah, you'll look it up for me. But
Jonah Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Say it again.
Jonah Jackson.
Yeah, Jonah Jackson. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm like, Jackson Carman. I'm over here just guessing. That's Jackson Carman. He's the Ohio kid that went to Clemson, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
so it's it was a lot harder those days to plug with a really good player on your offensive line. You were hoping that one would preferably come out the north so you can get him here because you missed some recruiting or whatever. I mean, now you basically have 2 different ways of recruiting. You can either get a guy through recruiting traditional ways, or you can go out and you want to drive Ferrari in Columbus, come on down. So with that being available pretty much the whole time Justin Fry's been here and a bit before, it is very hard to give passes on recruiting and lack of talent, even if you're not going to develop. I mean, there's 2 ways too. You can develop the guys you have and get some talented guys like Georgia, who are all, like Ron said, 6'6", 300, and can run around and run under 5-second 40s, or you can go out and say, hey, I was really good at developing a guy, and they're not playing for anything, so let me go grab them, or any guys around the country. So with that being said, it's very hard to give a pass. I was very happy at the beginning of the season with Justin Fry, and I do at part think he is a solid developer. But I mean, Josh Fryer, like I said, for all we talked last season, he's been solid this season. I mean, Josh Simmons, before he got here, looked horrific, and he's one of the best tackles and could have went probably first round if he wasn't hurt. We'll see where he ends up. But you can see the development is in there, but it is not at a clip high enough, nor is he recruiting at a level high enough to have the offensive lineman job at Ohio State. What are you making? $1 million, $1 million plus? Like, you can go get anybody in the nation, and I don't care. Play the offensive line $2 million. If he can get me highly talented guys and their offensive line moves people like Georgia or the better offensive lines in the country or Texas or whoever, fine. He's worth the money. So if you're going to do a job for $1.3 million and we're going to consider every week like, we got to go to Penn State, and I don't know if they can block long enough to give Will Howard a chance in hell. That's a big problem. So despite who gets hurt, like I said, one guy should not, and I made this joke yesterday, Chuck. I was like, you ever see like those cartoons where somebody builds like a little nice like structure, and then one little girl walks in and hits one thing and the whole thing just crumbles? Like, that should not be your offensive line. One guy should not go down, and you're like, hell, now we have 4 guys that aren't, or 3 guys that aren't playing well, 1 guy out of place, and I don't know what's going on. That is not a plan. So, which you knew guys can get hurt. So, yeah, I mean, he has not, unfortunately for him with the injuries, he's not looking good as far as his time at Ohio State continuing.
I want to pivot a little bit from the offensive line. I'm not sure if you guys heard the announcement about the ceremony before the game at Beaver Stadium this week. Chuck, Q, have you heard about it?
No.
Yeah. Donald Trump canceled his visit because of it, because they have a big ceremony going down. They're unveiling a new statue. They replaced the Joe Pa statue, actually. I don't know. It's not in the news. It's crazy, but I do have a picture of the rendering of the new statue.
Oh my God.
The Lion Slayer, JTT, 1 game a year. Awesome. We know we can depend on this guy. We have issues on the offensive line, but can we expect another generational performance from JTT in Beaver Stadium on the day of his statue unveiling?
They asked Ryan Day at last night's lightning round press conference, when do you expect JT or Jack to break out? Are they close to having a breakout game? And Ryan Day had a perfect opportunity to talk about JT against Penn State. He didn't take it. I couldn't believe it. It was such a layup. But I mean, what? The guy is 2 for 2 in his career against them for massive games. I absolutely think that we can assume that there's something special there, because those are the only 2 games he's ever really made that big of an impact in his entire career. There's something there. We're going to see it.
Q?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, that's the only time really, besides a little spurt here and there, a little play here and there, where he's looked like, the 5-star all everything guy that we developed. And it sucks because it's there, because he shows it. And Penn State's offensive line be having like 1st round and 2nd round tackles. So it's not like it's a team of scrubs he's doing it against. I mean, yeah, I expect this defense to show up and show out this game, and I expect JT himself, if no one else, to go out and get a couple sacks. He may not have the all-everything performance, but he's not up there alone, and we have different guys who can get after the passer that we know of. So I've been a big-time game for him. I don't know if he'll ever get on that level like he was the last time at Penn State. I mean, that's like a once-in-a-lifetime type game. But I expect him to wreak havoc and be a force and definitely somewhat break out from what we've seen him not getting after the passer most of the season.
Questions about this this defensive line. We've heard about the lack of rotation. It seems like they're not, or Ryan Day mentioned that he expects a breakout game for them. I saw someone quote tweet that and say, "This is a joke. You're waiting for a breakout game in week 10 from your 4th year senior 5-star top 5 players in the class. How long do we have to wait, guys? What are we talking about? You don't recruit 2 of the top 5 players in the 2021 class, the top 2 defensive ends, and we're talking about we hope they wake up in week 10 of their senior year. When does it happen?"
When people call us crazy, like as a fan base, honestly, dude, can you imagine if Bama or Georgia was dealing with that same kind of situation? Like, we're not any crazier than any of these other folks at that level. We're just not. That's insane, right? What you just said. That's insane.
Sometimes you just have to like repeat what, because Ryan, you have to translate Ryan Day's coach speak into some of the ridiculousness that he's saying. And it's like, did you really just say you're looking for a breakout game from guys that allegedly were going to be day 1, day 2 picks in the NFL draft, and they came back? You have this opportunity and you're still waiting for a breakout. Who do you blame here for this lack of breakout, Q?
I mean, I would have to go Larry Johnson a bit, definitely in the last few years. I mean, we've seen a lot of breakout games across the country for guys that we were in contention on getting. Unfortunately, for that spurt there, I mean, we did get Kenyatta. That was good. We got Cannon Curry in here. But for the most part, we've had to rely on these guys so much that we haven't really been raking the defense ends in as of lately. I mean, we see Dylan Stewart is an absolute monster. Mikael Williams, who we were recruiting for a couple of years ago, every time I watch the Georgia game, that looks like a top round pick. So the guys were out there, unfortunately, at Georgia. Well, fortunately, at Georgia and Alabama for them. Oh, JT, you're not playing that well. Next guy in here. It doesn't seem like we have that next guy. So not only did we, not get what we thought we got once, but we've missed most of the times after that. So, I mean, you have to at some point. I mean, the guy's extremely talented. Everybody wanted him. This is supposed to be developed here. Well, defensive line coach, where's the development? Like, where's the consistency that you're supposed to develop? A lot of great players can do it, here and there. It's the great ones that can do it week in, week out, like we've seen here before. So I would say it's a bit maybe JT, but I would say it's mostly Larry Johnson. And also, he doesn't pull about the game. Dude's running 100 snaps. I'm going to be surprised if he's playing special teams this weekend. So he might play some tight end as well. So, it's got to be on the coaching. I mean, that's where I usually fall. Yes, he may be a little bit of a disappointment, but you've got to find a way to squeeze more orange juice out the glass. Out of the orange into the glass, because we've seen it happen. And that's the worst part about it. It's not like, oh, JT sucks. Like, we've seen him be great and go up against high competition and do it. But the fact that he does not do it every week, as a coach, you got to demand that. And if he's not doing it, don't play him 64 snaps. Like, hey, if I don't see this, that 6'5" guy over there named Kenyatta Jackson is going to be in your spot, and you're going to be sitting here looking at me all day. So I got to go with the coaching.
I just got an update. Ryan Day is not going to be able to make the game Saturday after trying to squeeze a glass into an orange, cut his hand. Not going to be able to make it.
That might be a good thing. He might lose.
Oh man, I want to continue to talk about the defense and how they stack up against Penn State's weapons, or allegedly lack thereof. While have the expectation that the Buckeyes get it done, I never come into a Penn State game doubting their wide receivers. Why? Because every time we play Penn State, their wide receivers put up NFL tape against the Buckeyes and miraculously go from undrafted to drafted receivers because of what they're able to do to Buckeye cornerbacks. I said these guys that sound like presidents, Cornelius Johnson and Parker Washington, have made millions off of the Buckeyes secondary. We see Jermaine Matthews get the most snaps of the season this past week, outside of the game where he came in for Denzel Burke. We saw a little bit of shuffling in the secondary. Then the name that we're going to talk about eventually, obviously, is Julian Fleming, the transfer. But I feel like the guy that people aren't talking about enough, the Buckeyes have not seen him in meaningful snaps, is Trey Wallace for Penn State. This guy is an absolute burner that can take the top off the defense. Was hurt last time he played the Buckeyes. Really hasn't had an opportunity to really get off against the Buckeyes. And I feel like that's a guy that can stretch this defense and can give them troubles. What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm giving too much credit to Penn State skill players, or do you think Buckeye fans are underestimating the talent in the Penn State wide receiver room?
I'm going to go option number 3. Overestimation of the Ohio State talent in the defensive backfield after I watched Nebraska wide receivers get behind these guys multiple times last week. And Dylan Raiola just not be able to hit him. I believe Drew Aller can and will. These dudes are pretty good, man. They're not as bad as everybody's made it out to be all season. They've really trashed that Penn State wide receiver crew nonstop. We've heard it all year long, and a lot of it has to do with how much and how great Tyler Warren's been and what a big focal point he's been in their offense. These aren't a bunch of scrubs. They're really not. And I don't know why anybody would think they are at Penn State with their recruiting profile. I mean, this is not some scrub university. They're consistently in the top 15, sometimes in the top 10. They've certainly got talent. They can definitely hurt these guys, our guys, and they're to be taken with respect, man. This can be a bad deal, I think. It really can. It has the possibility.
Q, we're allegedly wide receiver U. Julian Fleming started here for 2 years. He's not starting at Penn State. Are we underestimating their wide receiver room? Because clearly their coach seems to think that they have more talent than we did last year.
See, there's something in the water at Columbus to where your wide receiver skills just go up that much of a level. So if you leave them behind, just like JT when he goes to Happy Valley. Some of your own pass rushers there where you drink a little bit of the water, you're just that much better. With a pass rush that I believe will be on compound V or steroids, whatever you want to call it, this weekend, I am very confident in the secondary. While, yes, Penn State will probably get off, will probably get a play where you're like, I told you don't play that guy. Like, just expect that to happen in big games. They might give up a couple. But for the most part, I am hoping that this secondary comes out. It is actually BIA. They've been criticized. Jermaine Matthews finally plays more. He looks like Jermaine Matthews. Well, what a surprise. Igbenogson still holding, not a surprise, but I mean,
hey, if you hold him on every play, they can't call it every time.
Yeah, but usually he shows up in these big games and he plays pretty well. I mean, I don't remember a big game where he hasn't. And Denzel Burke, I get it, he's getting beat a couple times, but he still is Denzel Burke. He's not going to give a play every play. So I'm very confident in the secondary. The way the safeties came in, they rotated, and Jordan Hancock and those guys looked playing back there. I was like, okay, like we got something here. So against Penn State, no disrespect, but I don't think they're going to be. I don't think we're going to get the Tanner McAllister game by any means.
Q, I gotta get to the chat, man, because they're going crazy. They're cooking your wig. They asked if I was a wolf in drag. I am Grandma Wolf from Little Red Riding Hood. Pick up a book, okay? Read something. They said they thought that Q was Jon Snow. Someone else said Diana Ross. Someone asked if I was a Wolverine. No. I do hear they wear dresses, though, so I can understand why you would think that I might be. But I wanted to get back to something that Juck said when he was discussing the receiving threats at Penn State, and you brought up a name that I feel like we haven't talked about much on this show. We did talk a little bit about it on the Bleacher Report pregame yesterday. Tyler Warren, one of the best tight ends in the country. It seems like this is the opportunity for Sonny Styles to be the guy that everyone has touted him to be, this guy in coverage that added a level of athleticism that the Buckeyes have been missing at linebacker. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but I mean, I saw Steel Chambers get dunked on by Michael Mayer when we played when we played Notre Dame. So like, I'm worried about the Buckeyes' ability to cover a tight end. Do you think that this is an opportunity for Sonny Styles to make some money and show the value that he's able to add covering a guy like Tyler Warren?
I'm very concerned, and this is absolutely a huge opportunity for Sonny. We've seen the things that his athleticism, look, yes, very, very good athlete. Sometimes it doesn't translate into aggression. We've seen that. But I do think that this is where he can absolutely be of tremendous value. That athleticism can really come into play. That length can come into play. Tyler Warren, I think, in talking to a lot of people this week in the chat, a lot of people are underestimating this guy because he's a big, goofy-looking white dude. This dude's a legit, really, really good athlete. He's an absolute bruiser. He can hurt us bad. And, we've struggled with good tight ends in the past. This dude's the real deal. So Sonny absolutely has a huge opportunity here. I think he's going to do pretty good. But pretty good isn't going to shut this kid down. He's going to get his, for sure. We just need to hold him, a little bit less.
I have been hearing about Tyler Warren and his athleticism for years. I have friends that are Penn State fans, and I'm telling you, Penn State has this tight end recruiting methodology where they go out and they're like, you're not going to play Power 5 quarterback. come be a tight end at Penn State. We love the athleticism, and they just go get giant quarterbacks that could run, and they make them tight ends at Pitt, and that's kind of Penn State. Sorry, I was thinking of the best team in Pennsylvania, and I said Pitt. So slip of the tongue there. But Tyler Warren, they go out and they get these athletic quarterbacks, and they transform them at Penn State. And I've been hearing like, hey, Tyler Warren, he's gonna make waves, and to see what he's been able to do, I do think that's going to be a challenge for the Buckeyes. Q, how confident are you in Sonny Styles defending him?
Well, tight ends have been the gym-nose killer. Every time we've gone into these big games, and besides Oregon, the tight ends have absolutely lit us up, have gone for like career days, and we're either holding on by a thread or losing these games. Tyler Warren is another one of those guys. I will call him Heisman candidate Tyler Warren, because we've seen him in that poll more than we have not. I don't think it will be Sonny Styles by himself. I think it will be a blend of him and Caleb Downs trying to cover this guy. But like I said, this is a big opportunity for Sonny Styles. While he does not do a lot of things well in passing, we see some of that athleticism at times, but he doesn't make bonehead plays. We see flashes. So this is a game where if he can be consistent, I mean, heck, if you can guard Darnell Washington, you can guard anybody. I don't care who they have out there, what kind of season he's having. So if he can mostly keep him in check, like Johnny O said, he may not be able to stop him, but if you can contain him and not let him go for 150 yards on 8 targets and 2 touchdowns like we usually let tight ends do, I think that is a big win for Sonny Styles. And I think with the help of a guy like Caleb Downs, he may not look so bad on Saturday. I think there's a chance for him to make some money. Again, I told people, I was like, Sonny Styles is going to be probably the only player that can challenge Caleb Downs for the best player on this defense. While I was wrong, he does the tight end pretty well. So maybe I can get some credit back on Saturday. Sonny Styles, I'm looking at you. Get it done.
The chat is yelling at us saying that that's going to be a Hancock and Downs assignment, not so much Sonny Styles. If I see Sonny Styles get dunked on this weekend or get beat in coverage, I'm yelling at all of you. I'm taking names. Quez, Go J, Don B. If I see him out there getting cooked, see y'all. Yeah, now we're moving the goalposts. Maybe we play some zone defense. That one button hook in the zone.
Just man free now.
I wanted to pivot a little bit from the pass catchers to the passers. Question marks around who's going to be the starting quarterback in Happy Valley. Buckeyes are telling me it's going to be Drew Aller. Penn State fans say you better not celebrate a win over Bo Prabula. Juck, where are you at? If you had to put your money on it, who are you betting starts for Penn State? Denied Dennis Sutton, I believe that's his name, something close to that. Their defensive end. He was out from practice. Drew Aller did practice on Wednesday. Do you think that Drew's going to be ready to go for Saturday?
I don't think there's any way that Drew Aller does not play in this game. The Ohio native who came into Ohio Stadium and played a game so bad he was damn near in tears in his press conference last year. No chance this kid doesn't start. I saw the injury. I watched the Wisconsin game. It doesn't even seem that big of a deal. I don't know if there isn't a lot of gamesmanship going on with this whole thing. I think it's business as usual in State College. He's going to start. Prabula's going to play up quite a bit. They play him, right? It's not like the Buckeyes weren't going to have to prepare for both of these two anyway. Just a matter of how much they're going to play Drew, who, by the way, I don't think is this incredibly dynamic athlete everybody's trying to act like. I watched him at Wisconsin. I've seen him some other times. He's pretty good. This is not some dynamo you got to prepare for. This isn't Marcel Reed coming in. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, whatever. But yeah, I do think Drew's going to start.
Q?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the backup quarterback is Lamar Jackson, but more elusive. They say for recruits, he's Garrett Wilson with better footwork.
I'm glad you said that because it brings up something that's been infuriating me on the timeline. Because, I have friends that are Penn State fans, and I'm old enough to remember in week 2 and 3 when they were saying, get this Bo Prabula package off my fucking TV. But somehow, if you get on Buckeye Twitter, You would think that they had the next coming of Marcus Mariota in the backfield. They're like, oh, Bo Prabula is going to be back there. And I don't know how the Buckeyes are going to stop him. I'm like, they're going to stop him because he's a terrible quarterback. And if he was good, he would be starting. Like, I mean, we saw Sean Clifford play there. I mean, we saw Mr. Tablespoon of mayo play there, but Bo Prabula not playing. Like, if there is no scenario where Penn State gets better with Bo Prabula instead of Drew Aller. The only way the Buckeyes should not want to play Bo Prabula is if they know that Drew Aller's injury is so limiting that it is going to make him play terrible. If we're going against a healthy Drew Aller or a healthy Bo Prabula, give me a healthy Bo Prabula. 10 times out of 10, I'd rather play him than Drew Aller. And if anyone decides to clip this, if the Buckeyes lose to Bo Prabula, I would say we would have lost worse to Drew Aller. So I'm hedging my bet right now. So it's right there. So before you clip this, make sure you know if we lose to Bo Prabula, I am of the belief we would have lost even worse to Drew Aller.
That's why you're a star, Ron.
You got a costume on so you can claim it wasn't really you.
I don't even know that guy. Look how much hair he has. I don't even have that much.
It's the wolf that ate Rod and took his fit.
This is the most hair I've had on my head in a decade.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, I fully expect Drew Aller to play, and I fully expect the Buckeyes to have to go pull out a tough one in Happy Valley. That's another big time game. I called it for Oregon. I was like, it's going to be a big time game this weekend. I know we're going to get the score predictions. Ohio State 56, Penn State 7, but no, I expect it to be a big game and a nail biter in Happy Valley.
I mean, if we're throwing out score predictions, I might as well throw mine out there. 200-0 by the Buckeyes. I think it's going to be a record-setting day. A shutout for Jim Knowles. They correct everything. I think we rush for 500 yards, pass for 1,500. I think each SFE receiver is going to have 500 yards this week, not to mention Emeka Ibuka breaking the all-time receiving record in Happy Valley. A big day for the Buckeyes getting it done 200-0 against Penn State. Juck, before we get out of here, do you have a spooky score prediction before we wrap this show?
Yeah, so as an experienced, very prolifically losing gambler, one of the lessons I learned when I was really young that was really hard to do and hard to get through my head was FTP, baby. Fade the public. You talk about the Oregon game. Everybody picked Ohio State for the Oregon game. We know what happened there. I'm looking at this Penn State game. Everybody's picking Penn State. I think it's a really good omen for the Buckeyes. I'm going to go with the Buckeyes in a really tight win, really tough, hard-fought game, a little bit lower scoring. We're going to go 24-21. Buckeyes win, get through that puppy, and then it's a whole different mood in Buckeye Nation because we've had a pretty crap couple of weeks here, and I'm about ready for that to turn around. I think that's what is going to happen. I really don't want to deal with the other side of that because you guys all feel the energy, I'm sure. It's going to get nasty, man. It's going to get real nasty. And, they're going to win the game. They got to win the game. 24-21.
We will get another post game from Juck where that was an hour of absolute diabolical reaction.
You gave a score of 24, and our guy Bucks Forever 65. This is a true OG of the channel because, man, he thinks like us. And it looks like he was reading my damn mind because I was getting ready to wrap the show. And then Juck gave his score. And I was like, oh, we got to discuss this. 24? Juck, how the hell do we get 24? That means we would have to make a field goal. Have we had open tryouts for a field goal kicker? How did you expect that? Because apparently at The Ohio State, we only make extra points. How do we get to 24?
This is safety, and we go for 2.
Perhaps that wasn't my best thought out prediction. I might need to revise that. I haven't been talking to you enough lately.
I'm thinking we're going to get 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions, and 4 safeties. 24-21. You heard it here first. That's part of JTT's miracle game. 4 safeties in Happy Valley. But that's all I have today on this special Halloween edition of the Juckeye Roast. A big thank you to Juck joining us and wearing his awesome costume of a disgruntled Buckeye fan. We had Professor Snape here joining us. A big thank you to you. I know you have to get back to platform 9 3/4. You have class later today, so hope you can make it. Don't miss your train back to Hogwarts. If you see a flying car over your house, just know Q's late for work. Guys, let the people know where they can find you before we get out of here.
Go for it, Juck.
Check me out, Juck on Bucks, 9:30 every morning, Menace to Sports or Juck on Bucks, wherever you want. Guys, I always appreciate being on and starting the day with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate you joining us. Q, let the people know.
Yeah, always a good time. Definitely appreciate the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that sub button. If you don't, you will be cursed. Also, if you're on Twitter, go ahead and retweet the video. We always get it popping in the morning, and it's a lot of fun. So make sure you do that. And don't forget, if you cannot catch us on video and you're like, Juck is too handsome, I can't watch you at work, I will crash the factory. Well, don't worry about it. We're on audio. Crash the factory. So we're on audio, podcast, Spotify, all that good stuff. You find me on City Boy Clinton on Twitter. Minor League Films. If you're into movies, you want some haunted stuff, I can give it to you. But if not that, go find Ron. Ron, get us out of here.
We got a super chat from our guy, Don B. Thanks for the 5. No message there. I'm not sure if that was an accident, but if you do have a question, go ahead and throw it in the chat and we will get to it before we wrap up. If you guys do want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TEES. You can find me here weekdays here for the Buckeye Roast, Monday through Friday with my guy, Professor Snape, replacing our guy Q. You can find me Wednesdays in the Bleacher Report app. If you missed mine and Chris Drew's Week 10 breakdown, make sure you check that out in the Bleacher Report app. You can catch me Saturdays on the Menace to Sports platform for the best damn pregame show with Chris Drew. You can catch me post games with Juck on the Juck on Bucks post game, and then of course Sundays for Buckeye BS, the flagship with Mike and Cam. Also they did Terry and Mike did an episode of The Fans Edge last night. So if you guys missed out and haven't had a chance to check that out, make sure that you check that out and be sure to check out Juck today at 9:30.
Before you do that, everybody, if you're in the chat, send us your costumes, man. It's Halloween. If you got kids dressing up or whatever it be, the best family costumes, all that, send it over, man. We'd love to see it.
Absolutely. Shout out to our guy, Don B. Said he's just showing love, no question. So big shout out there. We appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope you guys have a safe Halloween. And have a great Halloween. Make sure. What were you going to say?
He's so dressed up as Megan Good. I'm so done with y'all, bro.
So I mean, I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go find the video cue, but you know who you really look like? You ever see that meme video where the kids are having that house party in the backyard and the guy comes home and he's screaming at them to get out of his yard, and the dude in the wig comes out and goes, "Chill, daddy." That's cute because he has that 5 o'clock shadow in the wig. That's who Q looks like. The guy from the Chill Daddy video. The bad wig just placed on your head. The unshaven beard.
It's so big Iron Man next year.
But we appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope everyone has a happy Halloween, and I hope the Buckeyes don't make it too spooky for us on Saturday. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and you guys know how this ends. It's always go Bucks and OH.
Ayo.
Ayo.